friends, this is Steve. I'm checking in with you with Bass Musician Magazine. I'm Steve the Bass Guy. I'm coming at you today with the Phil Jones BP-800. This is a great amp. It is a really powerful amp with a really great 5-band EQ. It is 5.7 pounds. It was Music Editor's choice for the Summer NAMM show. It is an incredible little amp. We're going to have some fun with it. It has a really unique profile. The profile fits easily into a gig bag. You tuck it in, it's easy to go. We're going to run through some demos with this. All right, guys, so here we are. We have our BP-800 by Phil Jones. I'm going to power this guy on. Our power switch is in the rear. I fire that guy up, and I have my 3 toggle switch for my mute, my active, and my passive. I'm going to set the amp to flat. So my 5-band EQ, my low bass, high bass, mid, low treble, high treble right there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this fairly low. I'm indoors. There's no reason to crank it. I do have my M bass with me. This is a passive bass. There is no preamp in it, so my entire sound is this bass coming through this amp. The cabinet is a Phil Jones C4 4-ohm cabinet. It's an incredible cabinet, about 75 pounds, really great. I use it all the time. What I want to do is I'm going to play a really simple idea, and I'm going to EQ it so that you can hear the differences in the pitch. So I'm going to keep it very simple. So I'm going to put the bass, I'm going to set it to passive, since I have a passive bass, make sure my EQ is right, and I'm going to play a very simple line, nothing amazing, just an easy line, running across the spectrum of the bass, okay? G major scale, right? Nothing special. Let's bring down the low bass and hear how that sounds. So I'm going to bring the low bass down. I'm going to drop that all the way down and run the same exact pattern again. Okay. Let's drop out the high bass. Let's bring that down as well. Again, same pattern. Okay, let's bring those mids down too. Very simple line, low treble out. And finally, we bring down the highs. So let's reset back up. So you can see here too that we have a phones and we also have an auxiliary. So if I wanted to run in my iPad or my iPhone to play music through this, generally if I was on a gig and I just needed to hear something for the band, I'd probably play it through there real quick. Headphones is nice for practicing. I probably wouldn't use this on the gig. It'd be really nice if you see like Bluetooth headphones kind of incorporated in these guys. That would be awesome. So I have my line level and I have my main volume. Set both fairly low. So now let's go back. I'm going to play the same scale again. Keep it simple. I'm going to bring up the low bass. So that's in my 5-band EQ. Here it comes. So... I'm doing just the scale is that you have a full range of the bass and you can hear it across the fretboard. I'm going to bring up the high bass and I'm going to max these out at first. Here we go again. Sorry about that bump. There we go. All right, let's bring up, let me bring the EQ, the volume down a little bit here. Let's bring up the mids. Let's do it again. Okay, high treble. And finally, that was our low treble. Let's bring up that high treble now. Finally, the high treble. So we went through and we lowered every single one down, and then we brought every single one up. So we got to hear what the palette sounds like. Now to dial in my sound. If I were to dial in my sound, what I find is that I really like the high bass, which in the Phil Jones amps tends to function more towards the E's and the A's, whereas the low bass is more of a B or a function of some kind of drop tuning. So I am going to bring the low bass in for color. I'm going to bring the high bass midway, a little bit above midway, or about 3/4 of the way up. And I'm going to bring my mids a little bit down. I'm going to bring down the high treble. I'm going to bring everything down, let's just say. And I'm going to lower the high treble a little bit lower. So now I'm going to play up. So I can kind of start to dial in my tone. The EQ, and that's the thing about the Phil Jones amps, is they are they're really true voiced to hear your instrument. So I have to find where that lies, because I've put too much EQ in that I need to find where my instrument is. There we go. So I can hear that the mids are. I'm starting to hear it inside there. So the mids are really where that's going to live. So I'm going to bring down my low treble, bring up my high treble. Dial that back in. Bring up my low mids. Bring down my bring up my high bass and bring down my low bass. Okay. So let's find that again. So I know that my mids are really important. Bring that to there. Let's try that again. What I notice is that this does have a lot of this. It's got the same preamp section as the bass cub, which is one of my favorite combo amps ever. Love the bass cub. And this definitely has that functionality with it. It really gives you that sound of the bass cub in there, which is, in my opinion, is one of the best sounding amps out there. And what I can do is I can dial that in again. Okay, and let's bring that. I'm going to bring up the high bass and the low bass. Actually, high treble and low treble. And what happens is I can start to hear a little bit of, it's a little clacky there. So by bringing down the high treble, bring up the low treble, I'm still looking for that mid-range frequency that I'm trying to get out of that. So maybe if I max out. So it's somewhere in here. Yep. And that would be where it lies. So really this amp is awesome. It is a really great amp. I'm going to pop this off here and we're going to talk about it. Let's review again. So what we discovered today is that the BP-800 is a great sounding digital switching amp. It gives you a true 800 watts at 4 ohms. It is 5.7 pounds. The profile is that it fits into your gig bag very easily. The amp is a 5-band EQ. It was editor's choice for Summer NAMM. It won Best in Show. It has a lot of options on the front as well as on the rear. We can see that we do have a wonderful DI. We have auxiliary in, or we have line in, line out, effects send and return. We have our speak on out, and we also have our power on the rear of the amp plus our power input. This is a very manageable amp. The price point on the street is $799. It's a great price for a really powerful amp. This will compete with compete with any of those other amps out there in the same stable. It is a really cool amp. My recommendation is definitely try it out. You're hearing it inside my studio, which definitely has a tinge to be a little more muffled than out in the real world, which I've used it on gigs and it sounds really full on gigs. My recommendation is get it in your hands, go to the shops, try it out, use this as a reference, but you definitely want to play it with your bass because your bass is going to definitely come through here. And one of the things I've always learned about Phil Jones is that his amps sound like my bass, not the other way around. He doesn't season my bass. And that's really important, especially depending on what you're running, what kind of bass you're running. If you are running, say, a hot preamp, and you want to hear that, and you're running round wound strings versus the flats that I ran on here, you're going to have a totally different experience. And you are going to hear your bass through this. So for some of us, that might be a wake-up call and go, hey, you know what? Maybe I need to work on my chops. But for most of us, it is a great experience to truly hear your instrument. Remember, friends, the BP-800. This is the bass amp of Bakiti Kumulo. You know him from being out with Paul Simon. Hopefully you listen to his stuff. He's an incredible bass player. We did an interview with him with Bass Musician Magazine a while back. Incredible player. He's using the C9 cabinet with this amp on tour with Paul Simon. How about you? What are you using? So this is definitely what we want to head out with. Give it a try. Let us know what you think. I'm sure you'll love it. All right, guys. Peace, love, and low notes. And I will see you out on the road. Be well.